Well, as we've reported here, literally for years, there are more than 3,500 communist Chinese front companies operating in this country with the specific purpose of targeting sensitive American intelligence and information technology. Cyber attacks against U.S. military networks soared by 55% last year. The Pentagon now reports 3 million cyber attacks each and every day. Joining me now, two outspoken critics of U.S. policy on China, Congressman Thaddeus McCotter, a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, also investigating the Chinese hacking of congressional computers. Good to have you with us, Congressman.
Thank you.
Congressman Zach Wamp, a member of the Appropriations Committee, who believes this country should lift the ban on offshore oil drilling before Cuba and China get to work and tap valuable resources off our shores. Good to have you with us, Congressman.
Thank you, sir.
Let's start with, first, the fact that there are 3,500 front companies operating in this country, 3,500 we know of. Why is there no reaction on the part of the United States government to their presence and to their activities?
Well, Lou, the problem, quite simply, is they care more about money than the sovereignty and liberty of the United States citizens. What we're starting to see repeatedly from Communist China is their belief in engaging in unrestricted warfare upon the United States. That includes economic, strategic, informational, and every means available to help gain hegemony over the United States. What we have to do as the people who were elected to keep America the greatest nation on the face of the earth is remember that we are the party of Reagan the Liberator, not Chamberlain the Appeaser, and deal with these threats. In the footage that you earlier ran, you heard every excuse in the book about how Congress has to defend itself from cyber attacks, but you heard not one single thing about the fact that these attacks are being perpetrated by a nuclear-armed communist dictatorship known as the People's Republic of China.
Well, as you gentlemen know, this broadcast, I believe, may be the only one on television in this country that still refers to China as communist. We've had people ask us, Congressman Wamp, why we refer to China as a communist country. Our response is because it is a communist country. What is the deal in Washington where people don't even want to acknowledge that?
Lou, I was in Shanghai in January, and their responsibility is grossly lacking, from the environment to responsibility on trade, a million issues. But I think that we're playing defense with China because everybody in Washington, through one administration after the other, thinks that we somehow have to suck up to them because there's such a big market potentially for us, but we're swimming way upstream and we're getting slaughtered. And I don't think we should have the trade agreements we have with them until they respect human rights and individual liberty, because you can't have free trade without free people, and it takes responsibility. They want free markets without any responsibility.
Lou, if I can, on your remark about Communist China, I refer to them as Communist China, and I've had Republicans take umbrage. And they say to me, well, they're not really communists. And I said, then why are there 73.4 million card-carrying communists in the People's Republic of China that would contradict you? If someone walked into your room and said, I'm a Democrat, you wouldn't say Democrats don't exist anymore. The reality is they don't call it Communist China because they want to continue to operate under the myth that unconstructive appeasement is somehow going to take our relationship between the two nations to a more sublime level, and the reality is it's only going to continue to injure the United States of America.
Hence $1.6 trillion in foreign reserves held by China at this moment. Let me ask you, gentlemen, to listen to our Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson on the issue of the relationship with China during this so-called strategic dialogue with China last week.
I don't see why Chinese officials can't say something about the U.S. dollar weakness. Everybody else seems to say it around the world. And I always make the same point, that we have, every economy's got some ups and downs. We're going through a tougher period right now, but we're doing, I think, the right things.
Could either of you gentlemen enumerate, Congressman Wamp, let's start with you. I mean, could either of you enumerate one thing that this administration and this Treasury Department is doing correctly when it comes to U.S. economic policy?
No, and I talked to Vice President Cheney about it during the Yuan manipulation, and frankly, they have a whole different culture there. They don't respect intellectual property. Their attitude is what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine, and we see that with information. They think if the information, if they can get to it, they're going to claim it anywhere in the world. So it's a huge cultural difference. There's no honor, really. When I ask them about the environment, because we're talking about global warming, yet they're a developing nation, 1/4 of the world's population, they said this: You had your industrial revolution, now we're having ours. But at what expense to the rest of the world? They ignore that, so there's a huge breakdown between their way of life and ours.
Well, you know, you might say, Congressman, that it's less a matter of honor, that we have greater honor than they have greater intelligence and political will than we do. Congressman McCotter, the attacks on the U.S. Congress, cyber attacks on our Pentagon, why in the world can't the most advanced technological nation in the world stop this?
Well, I think that the first problem, again, Lou, is that we have to make sure that we point out the culprit is the People's Liberation Army. They have an informational warfare division that is designed to do precisely this. Now, I would agree that the United States has to defend its cybersecurity, but we've also seen in instances with companies that have provided cyber defenses to the United States that the Chinese communists have tried to buy them. One of the big issues that you've been on and other people have to watch is the sovereign wealth fund issue. A sovereign wealth fund is simply a euphemism for foreign government. And when a communist government comes in and buys free market assets and entities in the United States, that's called socialism, and it makes the private sector smaller. My largest concern about this is when you talk about the United States being able to do things, they have to wake up. Just as the Soviet Union was a strategic threat and rival model of governance to the United States for the greatest generation, Communist China for this generation is a strategic threat and rival model of governance, especially to the developing world. And as a free people, we have to wake up to the threat.
Well said, Congressman, if I may say. Congressman McCotter, thank you very much. Congressman Wamp, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Lou.
Good to have you with us. Lou. Come back soon.